Ladies and gentlemen, the show is about to start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Sunday Night Debrief, where we basically look at the game normally on a Saturday, but today we had a game today at midday, and as Jimmy Greaves used to say, it is a game of two halves. We're also very, very pleased to welcome, obviously, my glamorous co-host assistant, Stephen, who is actually still talking to me after last week's show. If you haven't seen it, maybe see it, and wondered for yourself if Steve really wanted to come around and bash me up. But that's, we move forward. But we are also joined live from I'm going to say New York City, even though it's not, but I'm going to say live from New York City. Anthony, who is an overseas Millwall fan who has watched the game, used to be very vocal on our spaces we used to do. And we're myself and Stephen welcome him to the live stream. How you doing, fella? You all right?
Yeah, all right. Thank you for having me today. I follow very frequently, all the matches, whatnot, all the content on Twitter that you're providing, which is great. But today you'll definitely hit an extra note for me because, as I'll explain, Haji Wright was pulling out for my local in the last decade. When he got his first start, I was at the match, and it hit a chord today. So I wanted to be a part of this one today.
No problem. I think it's going to be lively. I would make sure that you got yourselves cups of tea or a beer or a drink or anything else. Obviously, Anthony's getting geared up for the Super Bowl over there in a reasonable hour for him, but for us, it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. And then obviously the halftime show and all that lot. So, who is it this year? It's Usher, isn't it? It is Usher, isn't it?
Yeah. Usher's performing. It'd be a decent one.
The thing what made me laugh at that is that those performers actually pay. They pay to perform there, don't they? They pay a bundle of money to perform there, which is an interesting bit. But anyway, we'll get there. Stephen, Glenn's in the chat as well. The Coventry fan. We're trying to ignore him as best we can. But I suppose we'll start with his first comment, which was there. Honestly, the first 30 minutes, Millwall caused us all sorts of problems. Edward clearly saw what Sheffield Wednesday did on Tuesday to us and did better than them. SA looked lively. Coventry deserved win overall. Do you want to start us off then, Stephen? And we'll see where we are. But I think we're going to disagree on a few things tonight, possibly.
Possibly. I'll be honest with you. I don't necessarily have to think. I don't think Coventry deserves the win overall for a start. I think we played really well for 45 minutes. They had better of the second half, obviously. But I wouldn't look at the game overall and go that they deserve to win the game. Personally, we've obviously had a lot of chat in our WhatsApp group.
It's been lively today. Very, very lively.
Firstly, I think today, and just to be clear, when we come on to other topics, today's performance and today's result lies solely with the players, in my opinion. I think the second half, the way that we just capitulated. I mean, one thing that cannot go unnoticed, so many people have said it, why Jake Cooper didn't take the foul when Callum O'Hare picked the ball up in the middle of the pitch. He was right next to him, and just take him out. We see George Saville do it. We've seen Sean Williams do it in the past. We've seen Jimmy Abdu do it. All players do it. But why he chose not to do that in that situation is one of many decisions that was made. But today, as I say, lies firmly with the players. Longer term, Again, something that we might have to debate, perhaps where the longer term issues lie, whether it be the previous manager, current manager, board, players, whatever. But today, unacceptable second half.
I mean, Baz, hello, Baz, you're right. I saw you have a comment that's in, what's the point of I think that was you, but what's the point of the podcast? Yeah. Well, it's for things like this, because I'm going to pick up on what you say there. And I don't think this is a new thing. I think this has been happening for a while. It happened under Rowett. It seemed as if we were, in plenty of games, we seemed to think that we were that good in defensive that we can score one goal and sit back. I mean, it was something when we played that Phil Coleman clip on the last show, where when he was on the commentary show, where it was literally, we score one, we're going to win. If we score a goal, we're going to win. That's bullshit. Our players are not fucking that good anymore. They were 2 seasons, maybe 3 seasons ago. We had a great defensive record, but now they seem to score. And they just don't seem to have that hunger to go for the next one. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
it should be another 2.
They did. To be fair, and I know Coventry should have scored within the first 5 minutes as well. But within 20 minutes, we could and should have had 3 goals.
Yeah, we should have done, but we didn't. That's the whole point.
I get that, but I don't think it's a hunger to not go and get a third goal. I just don't think we're clinical enough to be able to score when we're on top. 2-3 goals. A prime example that I thought about this earlier. Last season when we played Watford at the Den, Tom Bradshaw had hat-trick inside 30 minutes. We had 3 chances. He took all 3 of them, and we blew them away. Absolutely blew them away. The rest of the game was a bit of a non-contest because we were 3-0 up. But I'm not saying that would happen today or against Middlesbrough a few weeks ago. If you take your first chance, take your second chance, we could blow teams away. We're just not clinical enough. And then, as you say, the mode goes into, right, well, we're 1-0 up. We haven't taken our chances. We're going to sit back and we're going to say, right, come and break us down. 2 years ago, teams couldn't do it. Now they do it every week. And that's a problem, because if you don't score a second goal, as we saw today, Coventry score the penalty, which was a penalty. I don't think there's any complaints there. 2 minutes later, 2-1, game over. And as Chris said on Chat with Chaps, if anyone hasn't listened to it, it's up live on the channel. You knew, I knew, everybody watching the game knew we weren't going to get a goal back at 2-1. It was never going to happen. So big problems, big problems.
I mean, let's come to you. Let's bring you in, Anthony. Obviously, we were talking before we come on there with some of the bits and pieces. And one point, well, obviously you said, which I agree with you, sir, SA. You can see the build with SA is that SA has his maturity is starting to grow, but that yellow card just seemed to rock him to the core today. And you could see on his face, he reacted. And I think that's one of the reasons why he was taken off, because he just seemed to let it get to him. What's your views of today?
To start with SA, I thought it was great for him to see him on the starting 11. And he took the goal well, got a deflection, but he took the goal well, and very, very harshly undone by that yellow for sure. It was, the ref said he blew the whistle dead and he kicked the ball away. I mean, I don't really see how that was ruled by the ref, and it ruined, from 45 minutes on. I think everyone came out in the second half flat, but he really wasn't attacking the ball as well as he wanted to, and he had to come off. That second half was very tough to watch. Even tougher in the sense, we went down 2-1. We made the subs. All of our attacking bench options came on the field. And by my count, we had 1 shot in the last 30, 40 minutes, which Bradshaw header missed the target. So we just offered nothing. As Steven said, at 2-1, we weren't getting the goal back. And it was frustrating to see. I think the only interesting thing I would note with the subs, while they were, the best intent, was I would have liked to see, Cooper come off. I know there's this whole premise of he's a big option in the box for set pieces, big 6'6" lad from taking a corner, taking a free kick. He scored 3 goals since the beginning of last season. Like, we can't rely on that. Like, go for at the back, keep on Fleming or Honeyman or whoever. You keep them on the pitch, and that's what I would have done differently. But the subs didn't really offer much anyway, so that's how I feel.
Just as a follow up to that, the substitution of Zian Fleming was absolutely baffling for me. I thought, again, whilst without being the Fleming of obviously last season, backing up last week where I thought he was our best player, this week their effort was there, the commitment was there. Things didn't quite work for him, but you cannot fault his effort, and he did get the assist for SA's goal. When you need a goal, you've gone behind. He's our leading scorer. He's got the most assists or joint leading scorer with Nisbet. To take him off was a bit of a strange one for me. There was plenty of other players he could have taken off to go for it a little bit more. I must admit with you, I agree with you there. Why take Fleming? Honeyman, if he's running out of legs, fine, I can accept that. But Fleming, that little bit of magic might be the difference between getting a goal and not. So I don't understand that personally.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I think the problem is that the fan base is so fucking divided at the moment that it's fucking unreal. I mean, we have gone through so much in this year. It's fucking mental. Do you know what I mean? As any club, but this team, what's underperforming now, is the same team what was underperforming for Rowett, and having to listen to him on Sky in his sanctimonious fucking smug way was just painful. But he did have points. It's that, we were good at points, but we just didn't go over that next one. Do you know what I mean? We just couldn't take it to the next stage. But that's the story of his life when he was with us.
Yeah, and it's been the story of the last 5 years. It's always, I think the saying is always a bridesmaid, never a bride. And that's been us where the playoffs have been concerned. We've always been that team that everyone's like, oh yeah, they could do it this year. We'd love to see Millwall win the Premier League. And then when it actually comes down to it, we've faded. And this season, it almost feels like, and I don't want to make comparisons because it's probably not fair, but when we first come up to the Championship under Neil Harris, teams didn't know how to play against us. They didn't know how to play against the 4-4-2, the Cooper diagonal to Steve Morrison and Gregory in and around the box. They didn't know how to play, and that's why we were relatively successful. But then we were found out the season after, and Harris struggled, and obviously then soon to leave the club. And it almost feels like we've now been found out. We were found out how teams worked out how to play against Gary Rowett's Millwall, and we haven't quite fully come away from it. The style of football might be better, but we're still playing the same shape as Gary Rowett played, and I think that's a little bit of
a three at the back
problem.
The three at the back didn't work last season, and when he changed it and went to 4, we started to get better results. And then Gary was like, I remember there was conversations where Gary would be like, look, you just support the team. I manage the team and all this with people and fans and all that lot. But the 3 didn't work. The 4 gave us a greater stability on that back line. And I think realistically, that's where we need to go to again. But again, it raises that question of the players aren't there. And my biggest concern is that we can listen, right? I fully support what Edwards is trying to do. The biggest problem, what I see here, is not what he wants to do. Is the board going to be able to financially give him what he needs? Because we're never going to be able to pay 7, 10 million, 15 million for a player like some of the other teams. So we're already up against it. But where does the rebuild go from? We've got 5 players on loan this season. We've got 5 players running out of contract. Potentially that's 10 players we need to find for next season. Where are we really going to be investing to buy 10 players of good ability to be able to play the way that Edwards wants to play? This Santos, we were allegedly in for Santos, but then Chelsea wanted a bit too much money. I'm not going to mention where we got that from, but you've heard the same thing, Stephen, from the fella. And you just have to ask, how much money, one, did he want? And two, how far out were we? Because we can't afford 4 million or 3 million for Cresswell. So how the fuck are we supposed to get someone who's after? I mean, let's be honest. On the current financial situation, what we seem to be putting ourselves in, and I understand why we're there because of what we are and everything else about it. I'm not pretending that we're a 100 million, 200 million pound financed club and all this lot, like the Leicesters, etc., Leeds, etc. But on our current budget, this rebuild could take fucking 30 years.
If I could jump in here, I mean, so Adam Meyer made his debut today, 15 minutes. Obviously, we can't judge him off that 15 minutes. I mean, I like the thought, he's come up from Morecambe, he's a young, exciting prospect. We know the financial limitations with the club. We're accepting of that to a sense. So I'm willing to give that a little more time. I'm willing to see that turnover of these 10 odd players you mentioned, whether out of contract or on loan. I'm willing to see that. I'm willing to see that play out, as I think generally as a Millwall fan. I think that's sort of expected. So I do hope Adam gets a couple more chances. I do hope him and SA get a little more time, and maybe that'll help us sort of see, Joe Edwards at his best if he can bring in more players and train them his way. So that's
Bailey raises an interesting point there. The major issue is if you take off Cooper, you don't have another left footer with either Tanganga or Harding. Both Edwards and Rowett hate that. Only option is Murray Wallets to replace Cooper, really. And that's a sad state to be in. Surely we've got a left footer playing in the youth in a minute. But
I mean, would we really put someone in who's not played Championship football in this current situation? I don't know. Maybe that would give the players a bit of a rocket. I understand the argument for having a left-footed centre back on the left and a right-footed centre back on the right. It's a bit like when like sometimes you put a right back at left back and you can tell that they're not comfortable and it just looks a bit awkward. But in terms of, I don't necessarily think we're getting caught. Bailey, that is a really good point about having the balance, but I don't think we're being caught out with the fact that Jake Cooper's given the ball away. We're being caught out because Jake Cooper's too slow. So if you feel that Tanganga and Harding are better on the ball, or Leonard, you could still back them on that left-hand side because it's not them giving the ball away. It's Cooper being dribbled past or ran past or whatever. But I do agree that, for us to be relatively successful, you've got to have a proper left back, a proper left-sided centre back, a proper right-sided centre back, and a proper right back. So it depends really what way you want to go. But Jake Cooper is seriously on borrowed time at the minute because he's just not getting any better. And he signed this long-term deal. He's been great for the club, a great servant. But how long can you keep carrying him? I don't know.
No, that's it. I mean, Finn, obviously, their first 45 minutes all Millwall, could have put the game to bed, didn't allow to play our usual game. This is obviously from a Coventry fan by the looks of it. So first 45-minute all Millwall, could have put the game to bed, didn't allow to play our usual game. Robbins had to change it. It paid off. Heads dropped after pen. Rest of the season, play like first half, you'll survive. I think he's right.
But
the problem is...
He's right.
But we can't play 90 minutes.
Exactly.
We either play 45, 30, 20, and that's it. For some unknown reason, we can't play 90 minutes. And I don't know why. I really don't know why we can't, considering that these are professional players, like we said the other day, they are professional players who should be able to play for 90 minutes of football, yet they fucking can't. And the average age of them are nearly, 27, 28 years old. Why the fuck do their heads still drop when we go one down? To me, you need to take the ball out of the net, put it on the centre circle and go again. Let's have it. We're going to go get that goal. We're going to get the goal. Because if you live with a positive mentality, surely it's going to come back. But you can just see the players. We all knew what was coming. We all knew at 1-0 when we weren't scoring a second, we knew what was coming. We knew they were going to score another goal. We knew, or they were going to score a goal, and then we knew that they were going to come and score another one. I mean, there's a bit on Twitter today which pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? The game is following the classic Millwall mould. Start brilliantly, score, waste chances to go 2 up, take foot off the gas, become wasteful on the ball. Other team beats us. Same.
Well, it's let's face it, that's a repeat of pretty much the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, eat, sleep, repeat. That's it. That's it. Every fucking game.
Yeah. I think the other thing, and I'm looking, I've got our stream on my laptop, and I can see some of the comments coming through, and I'm trying not to jump ahead. There's some really good comments coming in, guys. So when we get to them, I'll respond accordingly.
Your dad's come on. 2 up front.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, I didn't know that, but yeah. The thing I mentioned this. It doesn't even necessarily have to be Bradshaw or Obafemi. You could push Fleming further forward. There's a few comments coming through saying that Fleming's wasted out wide. 100% agree. You've got to get him central, and that could be a way to do it. Have 2 up front. Try and give teams something else to think about, because the one up top, if Obafemi, I thought looked quite good in the first half, and he got a couple of chances where he probably should have scored. But eventually he started to get crowded out because they started to work out, we've only got 1 in the middle, we can swallow that up. So 2 up front, I would agree. It wouldn't hurt to try it. A couple of the other comments, again, I know we'll get to them. There's a couple of that had said about George Honeyman being our best player. I thought he was excellent, really, really good. I think Anthony, you said earlier that why he was taken off. If it's legs or tired, fair enough. But again, you're taking off players that he was highly thought of at Hull. He gave everything for their shirt. He does give everything in a Millwall shirt. And when you need that little bit of fighting spirit, a little bit of a scrappy player to maybe drag you over the line, you'd think he'd be playing 90 minutes every week. I don't know. But I agree with the guys in the comments there that definitely George Honeyman was probably our best player today.
Danny Stroud, we'll come back to your point in a bit, mate. Some of you where you're seeing your comments come through and you think, oh, you haven't put them up. Some of them I'm highlighting, and we'll come back to them as we go through, because I don't want to chop and churn. I want to have a little discussion with this and then come back onto the recruitment side of it. I want to come back to that in a little while, because I think we need to have a detailed chat around the recruitment. It's I don't know. Where are we? Edwards is never going to play 4 at the back. Also need to play 2 up top as our midfielders. I mean, at one point, it looked as if we were just filling that midfield with everybody at one point, just to stop them going anywhere, which worked. But the problem being is that we don't seem to be able to go out and do that. I think Edwards played a blinding first half. But the problem is that he's not the one playing on the pitch. And we say it week in, week out. There is no leader on that pitch when Hutch ain't there.
Just an interesting one. Just before we go on to some of the comments, a couple of the guys, Bailey's one, there's a couple of others that have said it, that they were there today. Just out of interest, what was the fans' reaction at full time? Because I haven't seen much. Obviously, people go on social media and they tweet out, disappointed, frustrations and blame the players, manager, whatever. But what was the kind of immediate reaction from the fans? Because I thought, and we spoke about this on Friday, Mickey, that I don't think many people gave us much of a hope of getting anything at Coventry. So losing the game wasn't necessarily like, I think we may have not expected to get much out of the game, but to go ahead and to play as well as we did and to fall apart, I just wonder what the fans who were there felt.
Well, it's a good thing you say that, Stephen, because obviously after we gave him a bit of shit the other day, he sent me a voice message, and I'll just play it. It's obviously Bobby's voice message, what he sent to us. I'll play it over now.
Good afternoon, Mickey, my son. I'm fucking fuming, mate. Yeah, we played well first half, second half, another shit penalty. But end of the day, right, Mickey son, I'm fucking fuming. Yes, they should get more game time. We know that. Do you trust this fucking plonker, Joey Edwards? Winning 1-0, 2-1, 2 penalties. Sarchik, whatever his fucking name is a fucking joke. Shit keeper. We played well. We've lost the game, right? Yeah. I'm just it's ruined my weekend again, Mickey mate, and the old podcast and Stefan. Just told Nick this basically. Yeah. You know, SA doesn't get game time. The guy up front, number 9, what's his name? Obafembi. Oh, don't get me started on him, mate. What is it? One shot. Adam Mayer. Signings are shit. We have no fucking passion. We have no fucking idea. Coventry building site fucking arena, fucking shithole, mate. So yeah, if we all think we're all going to be Ipswich, we're all delusional, right? Yeah. Even your great podcast, Nick's podcast. You know what? I'm Mill till I die. I'm fucking fuming, right? Yeah. 2 soft goals. Who the fuck is Henry Wright? Anyway, I don't really know, mate. No coffee in today. Danny, solid Millwall player. Look, listen, Mickey, mate. I'll tell you how it is really and truly and honestly, as you even know yourself, all the years we've gone to Millwall, right, yeah? And it's making me upset, right, yeah? No passion, no ideas, no fucking Millwall fight. These boys ain't up for it. Ipswich for Wednesday. Take care, Mickey. I'm on the way home and it's fucking, I don't know what. Take care, I'm fuming. No one likes.
There we go. That's Bobby. Those of you who get in the chat, you see him week in, week out on here. So, yeah.
What I would say,
one.
Some of his points there were a bit nuts. Let's be honest. I think it did sound.
But I agree with him. Our players don't have the bollocks.
That is the issue. That is the issue. You've got to have sometimes. We saw it in that Norwich game when I know it wasn't a red card, but when they were breaking, Sav took the guy out. I mentioned it before. Sean Williams has done it. You've got to have a little bit of that. Not what do you want to say, like nastiness in the team to earn a point, earn your way out of this difficulty. But our players, as I say, Jake Cooper, again, I don't want to single him out because I think there's other players that really do need to hold their hands up and accept that they've not been good enough. But have a bit of fight, show a little bit of a. To be honest with you, I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Put it in the comments.
Wouldn't be opposed to that.
Let's put that to you in the comments, mate. Who would you pick, Wallace or Cooper? Get yourself in the comments and see where we are with there. So yeah, I mean, anytime you want to come in, and just come in, mate. It's no politeness, mate. Just come in.
No, of course. No, like I guess the difference in prior years to having that character who will make that challenge, who will take the necessary yellow if need be, to if someone's run down the touchline, give them an extra bump, just that little extra grit. You look at a guy like Casper De Noor, who is a very technically sound individual. I don't ever see him I see him as like this nice character who doesn't quite follow, but he's trying to be that technical midfielder and pass the ball and fall under that. So I guess it's not a bad word about him, just sort of kind of seeing that player and not being able to compare him to, a Sean Williams or, Alex Pierce or someone there to, to get a tackle and celebrate. Like, I don't know. I see that.
I think, again, someone like Casper's obviously new to the club, and his game's not built around being a hard tackling midfielder, so it's quite difficult to ask him to then go and do that. But someone like, I don't want to keep going back to Jake Cooper because it feels like we're kind of singling him out a bit. I'll go for Wes Harding, for example, who actually I thought was better today.
Thought he had a good first half, yeah.
He was better. I mean, based on a couple of performances, but I thought his pace got us out of trouble a few times, and he looked okay. But someone like that, you'd fully expect to just make the tackle, go in and take the forward out to stop it, and we just don't seem to do that enough. And I think I just want to go back to you both spoke about it at the start. Romain Esse. Really pleased he scored his goal. Really pleased he got a start. I don't think he was quite at his best, but again, there was glimpses that he has bulked up a little bit. I think he still needs to do a bit more work on that. The booking was a joke. The booking was outrageous, and you could tell there was.
Didn't Cooper Didn't Cooper pass the ball to him, or was it Fleming passed the ball to him and he kicked it? Probably didn't even know the whistle had gone.
No, Danny tried to win the ball back, which I thought he won it back fairly. The ref gave a foul. SA played it to Fleming just because Fleming would have been in on goal, and the ref went, "Oh no, you've kicked the ball away." When he didn't kick the ball away, he passed it to one of our players. It's a ridiculous card. And there was a moment in the second half just before SA got taken off where one of their players was running with the ball and SA was trying to tackle him, and every 5 minutes he kept doing this, like, "I'm not fouling him, I'm not touching him, I'm not touching him," and you think, well, that's no good. But it's not his fault because he'd already been on a booking and he didn't want to get sent off. So, little things like that. I was pleased for him to get his goal. A lot was made about his celebration. He pointed at his wrist, didn't he, to say about time. But if you look on Millwall's Twitter at the start of the season, he posted for the graphic doing the same thing. So I don't think there's too much to
No, I don't think there's anything in there. I mean, Glenn, I'm going to put your point on before I run through these. I was holding back to put yours on. Listen, we call this the Sunday night debrief. And if you're an opposition fan, it's always good to have your opinion if you give it in a grown-up way. Don't come on going, "No, fucking shit, Mill," blah, blah. But the ones we've had on, Glenn and Finn and etc., seem to be giving it in a constructive way. And we're more than happy to take these on because it's interesting to 100%. See how fans, opposition fans see us. You don't see us play week in, week out when we do, and they give us our opinion. So, look, it is what it is. Look, if you are new to us, make sure you are subscribed. And also, if you are watching on YouTube, please just give us a like. If you're watching us on Facebook or Twitter, your comments can come through. So just comment on Twitter, comment on Facebook on this feed, and your comments will come through. I know we're running a bit behind on the comments, but we will get through these and keep going. Personally I think manager is okay. Players just don't seem to have the heart or the will to fucking be able to perform for 90 minutes. Whether that's down to fitness, whether that's down to just stubbornness from them, I don't know. But something isn't right there.
Go on, Ant.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm not obviously an opposing fan, but I will give an opposing view on Haji Wright. So when the New York Cosmos rebranded, about 20 minutes away, I was a season ticket holder. Haji was coming up through the team, through the B squad, made a substitute appearance or two before he moved off into Europe. And I was part of that. And then at the World Cup this past year, he was our only striker who scored. Like, we're not really known for our strikers. Haji got the call, and it was outstanding to see him get that. He made his move to Turkey. He thought you're never going to hear about him again. And I still think he's our second best striker. Daryl Dike from West Brom got hurt again this weekend. He can't stay fit. Josh Sargent, if I see him on the field, the USA is going to lose. So, like, Haji Wright is, like, our number 2 U.S. striker. I fully expect him to see a Copa America this year against the South American sides in basically what's our biggest warm-up before the 26th World Cup. And when they subbed him out, when they made their subs and they pushed him out wide, that just opened up his game. He needs a little bit more. He can't sort of be that top figure. Like when he scored the goal was a substitute appearance against the Netherlands. It was kind of a freak goal. But he thrived when the subs were made and he went out wide to the point even on the second goal. Yes, Cooper should have made the tackle as noted earlier. But when he was out wide, he was able to sort of dupe Sarkic. I'm not going to let Sarkic off the hook. He should have made the save. But that, like, it gave him so much more confidence out wide. And as a USA fan, I'm like, okay, Haji's doing well. I hope he doesn't score against us. But naturally, he scores too. And that hurt a little bit watching Haji do that. But, yeah.
I have to say, I do agree 100%. I thought in the first half we dealt with him relatively well. The ball over the top, they didn't quite get it right, or we managed to deal with it. As soon as he was put out wide, he become a different animal. And again, the goals we all know are from our mistakes. Penalty was a mistake. Sarkic was a mistake. Cooper not taking the guy out was a mistake. So you do have to take it with a pinch of salt, but I did think he played very, very well when they moved him out wide, and that's a couple of things that I've been trying to sort of get across where talking about Joe Edwards, I don't think we need to panic in the sense of having him as manager. Yes, okay, we're in a bit of a tough spot at the moment, but I think he's still the right person to take us forward. But we do seem to only have one way of playing. We all complained about it under Gary Rowett, and we did, and it was more so the fact that the style of football was quite negative. But we had the same shape. We very rarely went two up front. It was just like for like changes all the time. And I know this isn't Joe Edwards' squad. I know he's had to inherit a lot of players that he probably would never want in his first team. But we still, like, for example, the substitution with Fleming. We took all three of our attacking players off. We brought three attacking players on, but we still played with the two out wide and one up front. It didn't change. We didn't change the shape. We didn't change the system. So I'm not anti Joe Edwards. And I think, as I said at the start of the show, that the players need to take some responsibility. But Joe Edwards does have to find a way of having a plan B or a different setup, because we can't just keep rocking up with three at the back and one striker, because ultimately you're just going to get found out week after week.
Here's one for you, what seems to be in the comments, and we'll come on to recruitment a bit more in a bit. But Paul Robinson, the keeper coach, not the legend, not
Wait, hold on.
our Robbo. So Paul Robinson, the goalkeeping coach, yeah, not by Paul Robinson, fucking hell, Marshall, the goalkeeper.
Yeah, Andy
coach,
Marshall,
yeah. He was obviously with Long, Bart, Sarkic. Is he? I know, Dan. I know. Is he? He's supposed to be coaching out the weaknesses and making them stronger. But have you seen that actually come across? And also, would you not prefer really to have probably Denzel teaching our goalies? Because he's wasted at Reading. Someone's put in the comment he's wasted at Reading, which he is really. It'd be better off. It'd be better off with us, wouldn't he?
Possibly, but I don't think we can. I think the goalkeeping coach at the moment, we can kind of have anyone in there at the moment. I don't think it's gonna make that much of it. We haven't had a decent keeper coach for a long time. I think it doesn't necessarily have to be Denzel. It could necessarily be anyone, really, that, let's be honest, that can come in and try and improve us. But one thing, and there's a comment that's just come in, and it's really interesting. Paul's just put, I'd rather have Bart as the goalkeeper coach. How would we feel though? But before we move on to that, could be moving forward. But this is for you guys, Mickey and then we'll put it out to the chat. For the remainder of the season, as of right now, would you be tempted to go back to pick Bart to be our goalkeeper for the run-in, or would you stick with Sarkic? No to what? Sorry. Stick with Sarkic.
I would stick with Sarkic, yeah.
Right.
Keepers are all about confidence. I mean, I know he was weak today on some of them, but I just don't know. I personally don't know if Bart is fit enough to play every game. And that's my only downside, is that obviously listening to bits and pieces from people, I really don't know if Bart is absolute fit enough, because there's been loads of rumour that he was playing through painkiller injections and everything else. And I just don't know if he's really, he will give us his all, but I just don't know if giving us his all would destroy him physically.
If there was an alternate reality where you could make a sub at 60 minutes and put Bart in for the final 30, but that's not a realistic world. Like, he's not fit. He's not going to fit the 90. We put the investment in Sarkic. He's at fault for the second today, but I would stick with Sarkic as well.
I agree with you, Baz. That second goal today wouldn't have gone in with Bart in goal.
It wouldn't. What I would say though, and again, it's really could have difficult.
Been saved as well.
It's really difficult. Sorry, I'm just. There's a comment that's just come up, and it's come up a couple of times. Oh no, wait, no, it hasn't. Sorry, something caught my eye there. Maybe not. I think Bart. The problem is, with Bart and Sarkic. Sarkic was really good for 60 minutes today, I thought. I thought he made a good save in the first half. I know he didn't come, but I thought he was having a reasonably good game. You make a mistake as a goalkeeper, you've had it. That's just the way that it is. You can't hide from that. The reason why I asked the question is because I saw a couple of people talking on Twitter about how Bart should be the goalkeeper for the run-in. I'm not sure personally. I would be tempted to stick with Sarkic, as Anthony said. We've made an investment in a goalkeeper. They've made the decision that Bart probably has his knee issues, and he's probably going to leave us at the end of the season. However, much like last season, when there was a lot of talk to call Bart back for the run-in, and people say that we should have had him in, I just wonder if we'll go down that route again, and you'll see people calling for him to come back very soon.
I mean, Harry, you raise a point here, Harry, but I will turn this back to you, is that you've put, look, to give us the best chance of staying up, if we lose our next 3 games, would you still be wanting JE as manager, even though it may result in relegation? I would say, yes, I would want Joe Edwards to stay as manager. My biggest concern is that if we get into the relegation, do the players have enough about them to get us out of relegation? And I don't think that matters who we've got as a manager. It's, are the players up to getting us out of that fight? And I don't know if they are, because at the moment they can't get us out of 90 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So let alone if we're suddenly in that bottom 3 and we, they fucking run around with the Reds down and all this lot, But our fan base at the moment is so mixed. 1 minute it's, Danny Mack's the greatest thing since sliced bread. The next minute you're fucking moaning about him. I think Danny's doing the best he can and where he is. Do I think he's a right back? Yes. Do I think he's a right wing back? No. But again, he keeps getting played slightly out. But the last game, he was great. Today, he was great, but I just don't think the rest of the players were with him. I think that, at certain points we were open. Was it down to him, or was it the fact that Cooper didn't want to run too much, or Harding didn't want to necessarily go in? First half, Harding was closing down and we were closing balls down. Second half, it just seemed to slow down. Whether that's fitness, whether that's just fucking can't be asked.
I will say too, I'll be quick. First half, Cooper was making a lot of runs into the opposing box or in that general area. And after like the second or third one, I was like, hey, what's going on here? Like, do I want it to be Harding where he only comes forward for set pieces? No. But I thought he kind of forayed a bit much today, but that's just a small point I want to make.
Right, 2 points here what's just come in on the comments. I would have Kenny Jackett as director of football all fucking day long at Millwall. All fucking day long. And that comment there about Graham Stack, I would definitely look at him as a goalkeeper coach. I agree with what you said there. Ben Foster thinks he was class at Watford and stuff. I would seriously, and what you need is someone who's great, someone who's a great man manager, whatever it is. And the other thing I'd do is fucking get in an attacking coach. Do you know what I mean? And possibly look at overhauling our defensive coach, because they're not fucking that much good either.
I saw you passed along a comment earlier. Someone was saying, what does Adam Barrett do? And I don't want to say anything bad about him, but he was here with Harris. He was here with Rowett. Now he's here with Edwards. Is it time for him to move on? Has he been here too long? Do we need sort of that new attacking coach, that new mentality, new sort of ideas? I did see someone said that, and I did start to think about that today as well as I saw him on the bench.
Billy Parks, Knackery, I heard exactly the same, mate.
Yeah.
That he was, literally, you fucked him about and you were fucking up against it, mate. And do you know what? Maybe that's what we need. Maybe the problem we had is that with Rowett in here, and Rowett allegedly not necessarily getting on with the players, not necessarily telling the players if people were playing or not playing till last minute, etc., etc., and the whole relationship around the team and etc., etc., maybe you need a manager to suddenly come in and fucking toe the line, or someone in that dressing room who will toe the line, because player-wise, who is there? There isn't. I mean, you look at times from before. You obviously had Neil Harris in the dressing room. McKennie was there. You got Robbo. You got my mate who fucking hates me. What's his name?
Tony Craig.
Tony Craig. Fuck knows why, but I've not done anything to him. But he seems to have fucking either confused me with someone else, or I've done something in a past life, and he fucking hates me. But you had real strong characters. What would pull people in? But the mate, Steve Morrison. Do you know what I mean? And right now, Alan Dunn, even right now, you haven't got any of those.
Well,
40,
funny enough,
you haven't got anyone.
You say that. There's a comment that's come through that's from Alex to say that get Dunny in as a coach. He's doing well at Bromley, and he is doing well at Bromley. I don't mean any disrespect to that level, but surely if the club come calling for someone like that to come in and take a position at Millwall, surely it would make sense for him to come in and do that. I do agree. We don't have leaders. I mean, Mickey, we went to the Neil Harris night, we went to the Byron Webster Tony Craig night, and all the common theme behind all of those them guys speaking was that at the times when they were playing for a manager, you had the go-between, didn't you? You had like 2 or 3 senior players that would be the go-between between the manager and the players, and if there was any problems, it would go through them and it was sorted out accordingly, and that was it. Case closed.
That's it.
Thinking about our team at the moment, we don't have that. Well, we don't. You could say maybe Saville, maybe Hutchinson. Possibly they're the leaders in the team, but can you really see and the dynamic of if you've got Joe Edwards and you've got the players and then you've got the go-between, can you really see that working with Edwards going up to Hutch and Sav and going, right, what's crack, lads? What's going on type thing? It just
no, I don't
know. It seems I don't feel like the dynamic is the same.
No,
that's
and
what
listen,
it was.
David, I agree with you there. If we'd have took our chances in the first half, it could have been a completely different game, but it wasn't. We didn't take them, and we ended up, conceding 2 goals and ended up losing the game. So, it is like that, isn't it? Who impressed you from the Coventry side out of interest? The referee.
I thought, obviously, Sakamoto was pretty good. I thought the fella, and I don't know his name, he hit the free kick that Sarkic tipped over, that he had the decent right foot. He looked quite good. Again, I don't know what his name is, but he was pretty good. But I don't think Coventry were that good today. Really, considering that they're the run that they've been on and they're in the top 6, I don't think they were anywhere near their best. And we really caught them out and we didn't take advantage of it. But they've got good players at this level and they punish you if he's just commented Torp. That's it. Yeah, I thought he was pretty good. I know Callum O'Hare, Casey Palmer, Haji Wright, all these names, Sakamoto, they roll off the tongue. They've got good players. But we're sitting here doing this show saying that, or I'm saying that I don't think they were at their best and we probably should have got something out of the game. Their guys who are doing their show, I think they've got a space on Twitter, are probably saying we got away with it in the first half, but found a way to win. And that's the difference.
No, that's it. So, there was a comment back here, what was quite good. Danny said, it's just basics. There is never enough of our players around the ball. When we have it, there is a huge space between our front 3 and the midfield 2, and don't get up to support. That is true. We don't. Who is out there to take? That's another good point there, Andrew. That's a good point. If who is there to take over from Edwards? There is nobody out there. Would you want Pulis? Would you want Alberton, Aldridge? Allardyce? I don't think we've got the money for them. That's why we went for Edwards, because it's all about the rebuild now. It's all about develop the youth so that we can sell them on, and hopefully that money will be then reinvested into the team. And I think that's pretty much it. But we go. We'll do a draw in a minute with people to win a key ring, and then we kick on to, I think, recruitment. I will tell what Barrett does, shaves his head. Yeah, I don't know. I know that he gets on with the players, and he used to be that conduit between Rowett and the players. You know, he used to keep the players sweet because of Rowett's man management style, and I think that's probably it. He gets on with the players and the board, so you know, he's obviously it is good. Get done in as coach. Jacket is at the Gills, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
George Graham type manager, who is Edwards, you mean? I mean, George Graham started rocketing and then obviously he rebuilt. So again, I don't know. That's what Warnock does when he goes in and saves teams from relegation. McGee could be a director of football. I mean, he's dropped down the levels, though, didn't he? Wasn't he a manager at Eastbourne Borough not that long ago? But then again, saying that, so was Mark Beard. Mark Beard. So, yeah. Need Alan Dunn talk like under Holloway. Yep, absolutely. We need to stick with Joe Edwards. Most of the current players are not good enough or intelligent enough to play Joe Edwards' style of football. If we go down, we will bounce back stronger and better. Look at Ipswich. You ask their supporters if it was bad to start with. Time is the bigger factor in this. Absolutely. Absolutely agree. Who is the defensive coach?
It's got to be Barrett, isn't it? It has to be Adam Barrett. He was a defender.
No, but he used to be the set piece, wasn't he?
Well, then that needs a shake up because we don't. That there was a stat, wasn't there, that come up on the screen today on Sky that about how many goals we seem to have scored from set pieces. I don't remember many goals that we score.
No.
That comment there. Sorry, can you go back to that? The one from David Squire. I don't know what you mean because I've been on it for dropping Jake Cooper and taking the armband off of him for quite a while. So I'm not quite sure what you mean there, David, because I would have him out of the team at the moment. I agree that the midfielders need to be close.
Yeah, Friday fucked you up a bit, didn't it? With potential of Hutch going off injured again.
Yeah,
because obviously you were raising that question: is it time to drop Cooper? Playing one up front is killing us. You missed a forearm smash on Sakamuka, Mickey. No, I saw it. But I'm not gonna sit there and fucking talk about it and give it airtime. It is what it is, isn't it? You know, at the end of the day, he is one of our own, and I'm not going to do the FA's job for him. So, you know, it is what it is, mate. Unfortunately, so yeah, too many passengers stealing a wage, lack of leaders. Graham Potter, I don't think Graham Potter can come back into football yet because I think he's had a big payoff from Chelsea. And there is no way that he's going to come back into football yet because there's been some big jobs out there what he could have possibly been up for, and he just wasn't.
And there's no way he drops down to the Championship either.
What's gone wrong with Fleming? Great question.
Can we come back to that? Can we come back? We'll do that.
Come back to after price.
I'll comment on that too. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
So where are we? Let's just get through these.
There's another comment coming through about why do we think Edwards hasn't changed captain? In my opinion, I think he should have, but I think because it's his first job in management, in being the head coach, I don't think he would have wanted to come in and rock the boat. So I think he's just gone, we'll leave it as it is. Hutchinson and obviously Cooper, there it is from Rosalind. Hutchinson and Cooper will share it. But I think one of the first things in the summer, providing, you know, whatever happens, the first thing he's going to do is Hutchinson won't be club captain anymore. And I don't think Cooper will be anywhere near it either.
Yeah. There was a moment early in the second half where I think it was Danny who had acres of space to pass forward to Obi, who was unmarked near the box, yet he made a pass back into the middle of the park. Why? Don't know. Only he can answer that, I suppose. Potter will go to Palace. I don't know if he will, you know. I think there's a big payout what's gone to him, and I think it's probably put him out of football for a while. Okay, hello. Need to give Bart a chance for a new contract. So yeah. Right then, let's do a giveaway. Right, everyone who's commented, there's about 44 of you. If you haven't already commented, just comment something you want. You've got about 30 seconds, and then I'm going to do the draw, and someone will win a key ring or a bottle opener key ring. So yeah, you got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and here we go. If you've already won, you will be undrawn, and we go forward. Martin Edwards, don't think you've won. And again, just get in touch with us. Let us know who's who, and let us know whether or not you want to pick it up at the home game on Ipswich. You going Ipswich, aren't you, Stephen? Yeah, Valentine's Day.
Yeah. I've got quite a few key rings left over. So if there's anyone that has won them that are at Ipswich on Wednesday, drop me a message on Twitter and we'll sort out something. It's fun.
So they're people who've just obviously Chris telling us who his favourite pop star is. Something you want. There we go. Right, the first person who should be sacked, if anyone, is Aldridge. Yeah, we'll come back to that. To play for us, you need to be a certain type of player. Kenny understood that. Not sure Gary Rowett did. Hope Joe Edwards does, but I'm not sure. Need to stand by Joe Edwards. Yep. Watch a second goal back. Cooper was knackered after trying to score a goal. Yep, totally agree with you there. Yeah, 130. Yeah, it is. We're growing, mate. We're getting there. So yeah, listen, we are all about the 1% gains. That's all we're about. So yeah, 1% games. Come and find Stephen, Connor, if you want one. Just come and find any one of the pod lads, and they'll probably have someone.
If need be, Connor, if you're on Twitter, drop me a message on there. If not, if you email us and we can sort out getting contact details and stuff. So that's absolutely fine. There's another comment just that you went past from David. The biggest problem is I can't see us scoring more than one goal, and that is the crux of all of our issues. If you never feel like, if at 1-1 or at 2-1, you never feel like you're going to get another goal, and that's
it. If you're listening to this as a podcast, well, you need to. This ends here. And then, you need to put the new one in, mate, because it's very close to the 60-minute mark. And obviously, as I said, we will be putting these into 2 parts. They will be released the same day, so you don't have to wait a day. But if you want to listen to what we're going to say about Fleming,
you'll have to come back.
See you after you put the next episode on. Right, those of you staying with us, then we are going into Fleming. Stephen, what's wrong with Fleming?
Well, I'm going to answer that in a slightly different way, because I think the last 2 games that he's played, he's probably been one of our best players. Last week, I thought he was the best player in the Millwall shirt. Today, I thought he was, the effort was there. Again, maybe lacking end product, but I don't think it was a lack of effort or a lack of trying. I think Zian Fleming is somebody, and myself included, I think we expect so much from him from what happened last year. And we expect to see, goals, assists, the flair player. I think there's been the talk of Burnley last summer really, really done him in. I think his head may have been turned, and for whatever reason, he stayed with the club. We didn't sell him. I don't think being played out wide is right for him. He's got to be played central. We've seen it so many times when he's in and around the box. He's such a better player than when you're asking him to take on fullbacks. As I say, I thought he was okay today. I don't think he should have been taken off when we needed a goal. I thought he was pretty good last week. We just need to see consistently, like we got for a spell last year, goals and assists. But the biggest problem is the fact that we're shoving him out wide for me.
Can I just say, just for the algorithm, what obviously listens to this and just to play havoc with it, West Ham United 4-0 in the first half, and most of your fan base fucking left. And Declan Rice, I do know your dad, and mate, you couldn't have topped that off any better. That was absolutely fantastic. That was the only thing what made me smile today after the game earlier, and then obviously watching, what happened there. So, Fleming needs to play nearer the striker, which would allow him to get in. Maybe he should be the lead striker or just behind the striker in the central role.
I definitely fall 100% on board with, he's being not utilized as well as he should be out wide. I think he should definitely be in that attacking mid role right under the striker. I think that role suits him better. If I could bring in maybe a negative comment on Fleming, but like I told you before, Stephen, I wouldn't have subbed him off. I would have kept him on, or one of the other times, whatever the case. If he was in for 90, I'd be fine with that. And I want him there because he creates that bit of magic. He has that magic in him. I will say I thought he was physically beaten today. I do think a couple of the times he got beat off the ball a little easier than I would have liked. He's coming from the Dutch league, which is in my eyes a physical league. I think the championship's much more physical. And I really don't say it as I don't like Fleming. I just want to say, I did notice that.
Fleming.
Didn't say that, but no, I think
Chris Brown. I said 25 goals. He's injured now, and don't get me started on that. So don't get me started on that. We'll come back to that in a bit because it'll fall in with the Aldo stuff in a bit. So second season Fleming syndrome from Fleming. Fleming is a one-season wonder. Sorry, what I meant, Mickey, was the fact that Danny shows that our players don't have the belief or vision in themselves and play the right pass when needed. I agree with you. I personally, with Danny, I think that Danny, and this is my thoughts on Danny. I think Danny is a good player for us if played in the right position. The things what I don't necessarily like and why I say that I'm the Danny fan club, the founder and all this, and we joke about it on the pod, is that if you remember last season under Rowett, there was a to and fro with the contract negotiations, and I don't know what was going on, what clauses or anything else, but there was a something going on in the background, and I didn't like the fact that the club went and spoke to Richard Cowley about Danny, because it was obvious that what they were doing was trying to apply pressure onto Danny and to make him obviously sign fast or whatever it was. And I felt that it wasn't right. And then I think nothing changed. And then Rowett suddenly threw him in front of the bus and said, well, until he signs, I'm not going to play him. And that's where fans started to turn on Danny, which I think is fucking wrong, because Danny could never come out and justify what happened or what was going on, because the club controls who the players speak to on the media and everything else. And I just didn't agree with that. And I think that since then, when they turned the fans towards Danny as a weapon to a degree, and it's only my opinion, it's not anything what I know, it's just my opinion. I just think that it wasn't necessarily it as a saying is in England, it just wasn't cricket. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't necessarily agree with that. And I think that's why I will always defend Danny to a degree. I think if you play him in the right position, he's proven time and time again that he does the job well. I watch Fleming closely, and for me, he for sure is being wasted on the left. His movement is really not that good. He often plays a pass and then just stands still. Mind you, that's the case of virtually all our players. It is indeed at the moment. Fleming has his best performance playing off Bradshaw. There's a good point. Yeah, no, you're not wrong there. 6-0, that cheers me up. Yeah, absolutely. Fleming was good today. I know people are saying he shouldn't be out wide, but he's been better there than in the middle lately. It all depends if he's getting the service, though, isn't it? If we're passing the ball about, then yeah, he is. But he does make some silly mistakes passing, though, doesn't he? He gets them taken away and stuff. So yeah.
As I said, the last couple of games, he's been very, very good and improved. And there was talk, it's the end of the transfer window, so performances have picked up. But we're out of the transfer window now, and I thought he's played 2 very, very good games. So, I just think he needs to be played central. I don't necessarily think we're getting the best out of him whatsoever because of and I also the other thing, and this doesn't just impact on Fleming, and it impacts on Millwall as a whole and the entire whoever the 11 is. We made 5 changes at Hull last week. We made 4 changes today. No doubt we're going to see changes. There's going to be changes on Wednesday. Looking for a reaction. That's not just down on Fleming because he's playing the majority of the games, but we're chopping and changing the team so much. He's got to find a way of just picking a regular side and try and get them to build some confidence and actually playing with each other, because half the team don't know if they're going to be playing the next game.
And that goes back to the point of Sarkic versus Bart. Like at a point, we have to stick with it. At a point, there has to be, okay, this is the 11 we're going to go with. We're not going to make wholesale changes like this. Yeah, so that kind of speaks to that point. Like at a point, we have to start. These guys are going to start every week. So that goes back to what we mentioned earlier.
No, I mean, David, you got a point. You have there is a valid point there that the guys who come through the academy get nowhere near what players who come in from outside to get paid.
And that's why. And that's why Romain Esse, the issue with Romain Esse and his contract at the moment, that's why Millwall was so keen to tie him down to a new contract, because he would have been going from being on absolutely peanuts to probably not being on loads of money, but that's why they were so quick to do it.
Do you know the other thing, what I think with Fleming, and it may be a bit of a controversial point here, but, maybe, again, if you're watching on YouTube, please do press like, did Warnock share the secrets? Because when he came in, no one knew how he played, and he was quite freely. First half, he was slowing, and then the second half, he suddenly come into his own, and he was flying around and everything else and causing people problem. Then Warnock come to the Den, and basically he played a good PR game beforehand. Millwall fans are great, blah, 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 blah. And then he stuck 2 players on him, and they just suddenly showed the rest of the championship. Fleming who? Who's Fleming? We fucking proved that you can fucking cause him problems. Just stick players on him, and he doesn't like it. And that just was, to a degree, his downfall. That was where, from that moment, when people realised that you could pinpoint Fleming, and that's when people started causing problems, and that's where he started to drop down.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, possibly. I just think though that with last season, Gary Rowett had this way. He did it with Jed Wallace the season before, that everything went through Jed, didn't it? It was always, and last season it was Fleming. It all went through him with all the goals. Everything went through him, and I feel like we've come away from that a little bit. And I get why, because you don't want to be just reliant on one player, but we just don't get the best out of Fleming. We don't utilise him. Yes, he hasn't helped himself in certain situations where maybe he should do a little bit better. But and there's a comment: good players lose markers. I guess if you're being doubled up every week, it's quite tricky. But the better players in this division find a way of being creative, being the man on the end of the pass or whatever. And he's not done that enough. But I don't think it's through a lack of trying. As I say,
I'm going to read Stephen's one, which pretty much covered up. Anthony, Stephen Matthews says, we are trying to go from a team that was very defensive, trying to nick a 1-0 win under Rowett. The football got very boring and predictable, even from a supporter's view, to the point where I didn't look forward to going down the Den. The opposition would have sussed us out, and if we could from the stands, the opposition would have sussed us out if we could from the stands to go into an attacking team under Edwards. You can see where we are going, but it's going to take time. We will be an exciting team to watch, which I agree with.
I think that's one of them. Sorry, go on, go on, mate.
No, it's just to point out what Mickey said earlier. This season goes to the point of relegation and we end up in League One. You'd still want Joe Edwards there. You still want to give him that opportunity. So I think that's just to mention what you said earlier. Sorry,
so Andrew Roberts says the same as me. Look, Warnock was the one last season for for Huddersfield. He was the first manager to know how to nullify Fleming properly, and every other manager did the same afterwards.
Yeah, it has. And I mean, that comment that was about Joe Edwards, I agree. It is going to take time. We all knew. I think if my dad's still listening, he said right at the beginning that it'd be a bumpy ride under Joe Edwards, and it has been. We've had terrible performances. We've had a good, couple of games at Christmas, and then it's gone bad, and it's going to be that way. It's just we have to stick with him, but he also has to adapt pretty quickly to learn that sometimes, whilst we should we say, we called Gary Rowett very stubborn over his tenure, and I'm not saying that Joe Edwards is stubborn, but he just needs to have a little bit more about him and another style of play. But I agree with that comment. It is going to be a bumpy ride.
Right, let's go on to. We're going to go on to Aldo. And listen, I think it is. I think there's a good point where I want to start off with it. Go on.
Just while you find that comment, I think we mention his name more on our podcast than the football club do literally throughout the season, because we never hear anything about him, and then all of a sudden, like we mention him pretty much every week. But I feel it is still something else that needs it is. So you can delve so much into our recruitment. It's unbelievable.
Here we go. Look, Alex Aldridge, weaker by the window. 365 days ago, needed a target man. This was to get into the playoffs. Needed one this year to keep us up. Yeah, we're missing Hutch, Leonard, and Thingy badly. Yeah, where are we? Let's come into that one in a minute. Where are we? Chris says no. Where are we? This is a function of years of player recruitment and neglect. We have one of the highest average ages in the division. We have none of the attributes required to succeed in this level or in this division, i.e. pace, that word, and skill and movement. How exactly is Aldo going to pluck 10 decent players off Football Manager 24? Peter Sullivan's point. We have a director of football who has never kicked a ball and is out of depth. Do you know another person in the game like that? Let's be honest. It's not an attack on Aldo. It's Aldo 10 years ago was a Southern News reporter. Okay, fact. No ifs or buts, fact, right? And then he started up a website and everything else. Then he got into the club, and then he got into being a good position within the club. Then left the club, went to Stoke. Didn't really do that well at Stoke, and then come back and brought back in when we had Brussels, who allegedly with Rowett found Fleming, found some other players and all that. The problem is that there seems to be this shroud of secrecy around what he does. There's rumour that we've got this Crystal Palace lad coming in, whether or not it's true or not, Wall Talk's coming back, the Millwall own podcast, which is great, fantastic. But I tell you what, right? Stop dragging up old players who have done the rounds across nearly every other podcast out there apart from ours, but some of them will be coming on ours shortly. But that's contrary to thing. Why don't we put on Aldo, Joe Edwards, Steve Kavanagh, other members of the board? Let's have them on. Let's speak to them. Let's find out what makes them tick. Let's find out exactly. No bullshit PR. Aldo, go on Wall Talk, because you'll never come on here. The offer's there, but no one will ever come on here from the club because they won't. But tell us, what deals have you done? Who done them? Because according to the rumours, a lot of the players what Rowett brought in was down to Rowett, not Aldo. Aldo might have signed the contract, but were they Aldo? And this regular bit on every new signing, Aldo having a couple of lines on there, we can all see that that's pretty much PR. We don't necessarily believe a word what that is. Do you? Do you believe a word of it? Stephen?
Not really. I mean, there's a comment that's come through. Aldo was at Stoke, and look where they are now as well. So they clearly, it didn't work with his spell there, and they haven't recovered still. So the problem is, right, and this isn't a defense of Aldo because you don't know what he does, and we don't know anything. But that's Millwall all over. It is secret squirrel with everything. Even down to the kit. When we have a new kit, every other club, some announce it at the end of the previous season. They've got it on the pre-season tour. All the kids can buy it over the summer holidays and wear it on their holidays. Our one, we don't even have it in the shop when the first game comes around because it's all secret squirrel. It's all, oh, we can't let anyone know what we're doing. And it gets to a point where if you're being relatively successful, you don't ask these questions. You don't care because you're competing at the top of the league and everything's going well and finances and you've got a nice kit supplier and this, that, and the other. But when it goes wrong, when the kit supply, when the sponsor, no one said anything about Husky for the last couple of months. That's all gone quiet behind the scenes. There is
a court case going on. So
yeah. But what I'm saying is that no one knows what's going on. Are we getting any money? Are we having a new sponsor? Nothing.
Well, okay.
Players. Sorry, hold on a minute. Just before players, right? You never know who we're going to sign. You never know what's going on. It's all done on the hush hush. I get that because they don't want other clubs maybe coming in to try and hijack their deals. But again, what does Alex Aldridge do? What does Steve Kavanagh do on a day-to-day basis? What are they doing that's enhancing the club? Like I said, when things are going well, no one bats an eyelid. When things aren't going well, people want to ask questions and people want to know what's going on. But Millwall will never, ever do that.
Well, here's a prime example for you, right? 10 years ago this week, I started AMS, okay? With a couple of other pods, AMS was started to do with the regen, the Lewisham and everything else, right? And we stated during there that ideally that had been going on since beginning of the 2000s to a degree, right? It'd been 2004 or so, I think it was going on bits and pieces. We are now in 2024 and the lease still hasn't been signed and Egan has left, which is throwing a massive spanner in the work. But 10 years on, it's still not been done. And we know nothing. We've not been told anything or anything else. And you're like, mate, what the fuck? Do you know what I mean?
This is what I'm saying. It goes on and on. And I know the comments are going to absolutely love this, but Lurch, for example, everybody has got their 2 pence worth on what he does and how he's done this and how this all works, etc., etc. But again, no, you don't know anything. It's all rumors. It's all whispers. And I know that's a small thing and no one really cares about it. You know, it doesn't matter, but all these things happen. And as I say, the club are in a position at the moment now where they're trying to move forward. They want better finances. They're trying to, promote the club and have more of a brand and this, that, and the other. I don't know. Ultimately, if it's not going right on the pitch, fans have a right to ask questions about what's going on off the pitch, and we never get told anything. And to me, it's unacceptable.
Football League rules state that we should have 2 forums a season. We've had 1 so far. We need another one. The biggest problem you have as well, and I've said it time and time again, is that the MSC isn't strong enough as a fan representation. You need a strong fan group who can then pressure the club into giving us answers. Tell us what's going on. Tell us, why did you choose Edwards? What's the reason? Not PR spill. Is it the fact that you are looking at a rebuild process? Because I tell you now, if you tell people what your process is that because of the budget we're on, we need to develop our youth so that then we can sell, make investment and reintroduce the money back into the team, the fans would support you. 100%. The fans would go...
Or right. you would at least you'd have more backing him because you'd understand the pressures that he's under and with finances and stuff. When you don't know anything, that you're just basing it purely
you're
on
letting the rumours go.
Yeah,
the stuff with Lurch, what allegedly is bullshit, but it just suddenly it it grows and grows and grows, and all the rumours and everything else just grow and grow and grow. Here's a question for you, right? As I said earlier, we potentially got 5 loan players what are going to go at the end of the season, and potentially we've got 5 players out of contract. If, for instance, they all don't sign and the 5 loanees all go back without a sell option and everything else, that's 10 players. Honestly, and get in the comments, just put yes or no. Do you honestly feel that Aldo would bring you in the 10 best players to suit what you need? Not talking about buying £10 million each player. I'm talking about finding the best player who you need for that process. Whether it's League Two, like we did with Mayo, I'm just wondering, do you have all the confidence in the world that he would be able to bring in 10 players?
And even for the club in general, when we do bring in a player, we get no information how long the contract is. We never get told. We're playing this guessing game at the end of the. Everyone's got to keep track who's out of contract this year, and how long's this long-term extension with Cooper, and no, so that there is no faith in that sense. To where if we were told, hey, look, the budget's been a little tight this year. We're not going to make many January signings, and we're going to put an emphasis on the youth. No, I don't have the faith in them to do that. You play a guessing game, and then you get to the off-season, preseason. Teams going to Portugal, you get no idea whatsoever about it, and all of a sudden, Crawley fans are popping up at the game. They ended up showing up at the match because they were told by the club they were there, and we were told nothing. Just another example of I almost distrust that the club has to tell us things or give us an idea of the future and plans. So
yeah, if the club told me it was sunny, mate, I'd still take an umbrella.
The problem is with the 10 players is I don't know enough about how it works, and it'd be interesting if we could ever find anyone that did. But at the end of the summer, regardless of what league, this is where it doesn't matter if we're in the Championship or League One. We are losing 10 players at the end of this season unless we offer deals to the likes of Leonard, Hutchinson, Bradshaw, etc. Right? So whatever happens, we have to replace those players. Now you'll say, I think Alex Mitchell will be one that will come in, so that might be an
I can give you an insight into how they do things when I was found on the board, even though I don't like to talk about it.
Now, what I mean is, in terms of the plan, they should be planning now. It should be now that they're looking at. But what can we do? What
used to happen, and it was one of the things where I didn't want to do it because I was asked if I wanted to do it, and I said no to Steve Cameron. I didn't want to be involved in that meeting because I still wanted to be a fan and sort of have the secrecy, so they don't really tell you anything about there, and I wouldn't have been able to share anything, and I just didn't say. But at the start of the season, before the season starts, they have a meeting. So the manager has a meeting, the recruitment CEO sort of suggesting who their targets will be. And the manager sits there and obviously throws in some and all that. I mean, I'm talking when Neil was there. So Neil was a bit more active on players, what you want, because he scouts more and the people around him scout more. I don't know if Edwards does. I don't know what's what. But that used to be it. So they'd come up, for instance, with 5 names and go, these are the 5 players, what we want, or these are the 5 positions with a list of names with them, with this is our ideal. If we can't get them, then we'll get them, or we go for this one. And they used to have different categories for each one. And that used to be it. I don't know any of the names what were on there back then, but that was what I was told how it goes. If that is the way it still works now, then great. But realistically, why do we always leave things to the last minute? Do you know what I mean? It's like, we knew that we were possibly in for Santos or we were in for someone else. And then all of a sudden it was like Tandanga or Obafemi suddenly come in. What weren't on the radar. Same as last season on the transfer window with Kiefer Moore. Last minute. Do you know what I mean? Last minute, here we go. We'll have him then. So, yeah. Connor, great point. It will never, ever happen, mate.
I just feel like the club, we're in a position at the moment where you touched on it earlier, Mickey. So much has happened over the last year. We've got the club has been rocked
To the
from
core.
top to bottom. There's just, and that's just how it is, and it's really unfortunate. However, there are a lot of people that spend an awful lot of money following Millwall up and down the country that go to every single game. I don't go to every game. I go to a lot of them. I travel to a lot of places, and I'm sure lots of guys in the comments do as well. And we love our football club. I love coming on here talking about it. I love trying to interact with, the comments and stuff. It's great. I love my team. But when you're sitting there week after week, season after season, not being told anything, and it just goes on and on and on. We've been lucky the last few seasons that Rowett had us competing at the right end of the division. At the moment, all you're doing, and people have said it in the comments tonight, that I can't be bothered to go to the next one. I'm not feeling. I don't mind missing this game. I don't mind missing that one. I have a look. I have a look at what the ticket sales are like for games. More people are more interested in going to Sheffield Wednesday next weekend than what they are for Ipswich. Now, I get it's on the telly. I get it's Valentine's Day. I really understand it. So there are other factors, but supporters are already thinking today, I ain't going to bother on Wednesday, and that's not right. That's not what Millwall's ever been about. You meet the same faces, you make friends, and you talk. I do talk to all the people around us, and it's always been you look forward to a game on a Saturday, and there's too many people, and it starts from not knowing what's going on at the club and why we're doing the things that we are, and then performances and lack of investment and all this kind of stuff. It's not right. It's just not right, and people are right to not spend if they don't want to spend their hard-earned money. I mean, the argument used to be, the day trippers and this, that, and the other, and you only go to 1 or 2 games. But I know plenty of people that say, I'm not going to this one, or I'm not doing this, or I don't fancy it today, and that's not what we're about as a club. It's supposed to be a unique club. It's supposed to be, Millwall fans do anything for each other. We've got our backs. It's a family. We support the team, and everyone's on the same page. We are so fractured at the moment. It's unbelievable. And until things like the Aldo situation gets a little bit cleared up, or we understand this guy, the rumours from Crystal Palace, this guy is apparently a really good, talented scout. We don't know if he's employed by the club. No one's announced anything. No one's said anything. It could have been a load of old crap for what anybody knows. We just don't know. And ultimately, we're going down a dangerous path. And
no, Dan, I didn't have. Question for you, Danny. Yes, Jonathan. Joe Edwards is the next guest on Wall Talk.
He is.
But do you honestly believe that you will not have pre-scripted questions? Do you think it's going to be a PR workshop, or do you think it would be, for instance, if he come on here, even I'm happy to give pre-asked questions, right? 5-10 questions pre-asked, so you know what's coming, so we don't doorstep you, so you don't get jumped on it. But if you come on here and going on there, where do you think you'll get the truth? Where would you think you'd have a better shade of questions? Because I guarantee, even if they say, what questions do you want to ask, they will be highly, highly edited. Because it has to be, because of what, if they are who they are and all that lot. So, yeah, the club hide things from us fans, Mickey. Get back on the fan on the board. No, not in a million years, mate. Sorry, but no, it's someone else can have that, mate. Never again. We are far too secretive for a club, yeah. Aldo doesn't bother speaking to the public anymore after someone mugged him off with a fake account on Twitter and he cried about it. I remember when Aldo used to speak to us for rumours, and then as soon as he got employed to the club, he never spoke to us again. So, yeah, could have. Andrew Roberts, I will be coming up to that in a little bit, mate. Don't worry, because I made a promise to a couple of the family members on Twitter best part of 10 years ago, to be fair, probably eight years or so ago, that when I was found on the board, that every year I will make sure that they're remembered. And every year since, on one of my Twitter accounts, they have always been posted with all their names so that people will know all about them. And those of you who are fairly youngest, I will come to them in a bit. So don't panic. They will be being spoken about shortly. 10 minutes behind the comments. Look at him. Fucking hell. Shut up, Frenchie. Do you know what I mean? More than we know him running. Maybe John Berylson did more than we know him running the club. Don't know about that. But he was a good he was good to us. But yeah, I think other people run it. And I think that's the problem now is maybe Jimmy's a little bit more wants to know what's going on. Facts are the way our club is run backwards and live in the past. A good proportion of our fan base are backwards and live in the past. There has never been a clear vision for the future. It's always been live in the now and let tomorrow take care of yourself. Yep, absolutely.
That as well was what Gary Rowett did, because he had a lot of. It was always planning for the loans and get you over the line in each season, rather than thinking about what the long term kind of strategy might be. I mean, I don't want to look. Listen, I could go.
Mate, I've not found one person yet in these comments saying that they trust in Aldo. I mean,
no, they don't.
Chris
no,
says,
why
I wouldn't
would
trust
they?
Aldo to bring in a cup of tea. Do you know what I mean?
Let's be honest. We've, as you know, Mickey, you've had whispers and people have heard whispers about what happened with the Jed Wallace situation.
Yep.
Now that's for another time, but nobody really knows what's gone on there. He was our best player, a valuable asset, and we just let him walk out the door for free. You know, it's just stuff like that. Let's be honest, with Zian Fleming, we have gone from last summer potentially picking up £10 million to this summer him having 1 year left on his deal. They'll probably play hardball, and we'll end up losing him on a free again. I don't know. It's really frustrating. I'll be honest with you. I'm going on Wednesday. Got a couple of away games coming up. The podcast, a load of us are going up to Blackburn if anyone's there. But I just want this season to be over and done with, and hopefully that we survive, because the whole thing needs a reset. It just does.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, Dan Riggs is going with Valentine's Day because he says I want to be fucked on Valentine's Day, so I'll be there Wednesday. You know, a bit of tongue in cheek and all that. Ipswich are bottling it, so I can see us getting a draw. Stephen is the first season for ages that I can't be asked for some of the
and that's
games.
it. And just on that, Chris Brown, he did one of our Who Are You shows, and he, if I'm right, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe he's got a motorbike and goes on his bike to all the games and ends up, fine. He goes to loads and loads of games on his bike. And when you've got fans like that have been following the club for a long time that are going, nah, I'm not feeling it today, you've got a problem. You've got a massive problem.
David, no, I didn't. Listen, while I was fan on the board for most of the majority of the time being fan on the board, it was a great position to have. But the stress what come with it, and the fact that I focused a hell of a lot of my time on it, dealing with fans, dealing with bands, and all of the stuff what goes around it, it was hard. And then the turning point was Portugal, where Fleetwood were offering our fans, not our fans, but their fans, money, tickets to go to Portugal to watch the team. And our club decided that we're telling our fans no, but offered it to corporate, to the ones that wanted to pay the money. And that's when I left, and it was just enough. It was just, it was good while it was a bit of give and take and stuff, and you could get what you wanted to a degree with, what the fans want. But yeah, no, it was there. But I wouldn't do it again. It's way too stressful for not to be paid. For the amount of hours what you put into it. So yeah. And
First,
you're getting
that was that Ben in the chat as well? Hello, Ben. Yeah. And Andrew, that comment there. Thing is, Stephen, if the club let us into their secrets and we find out that Aldo is pulling the strings on transfers, they know the fans would go mental over it. They would. They absolutely would go mental over it. But then that's the reason why they don't tell you. Yeah, it's a good thing, because you want to know what's going on. So but that's why they don't tell you, because they're worried of what the backlash would be. Okay, then we'll make it that there isn't going to be a backlash and put someone in the position that can actually fulfill the role. They're only going to be backlash because they know that he's not capable, or we believe he's not capable of doing it. I don't know. It's just the whole setup at the moment is completely and utterly baffling.
French boys coming over for Sheffield Wednesday, and it'll be the first time. I've got my Sheffield Wednesday, and it'll be the first time ever at Hillsborough. Don't know if I want to go.
No. We're at home.
That's fine. Oh yeah, first time, and I don't know if I want to go. Okay. Evening, chaps. It's me. We know that with the hello. Is there still a fan? No. UEFA rules state that you have to now have a paid support liaison role, and that support liaison role is run by Shona, who it does a fantastic job.
Yeah, she does.
And at the moment, that's covered by Alex Russell, who is the assistant Lionesses coach, and
also my gaffer for the charity game as well.
Okay.
Point that out.
Alex is a good lad, and he does the role goods. But yeah, FIFA rules basically want it as a paid employee of the club. Make from that what you want. But yeah, it is. One day maybe I'll do a show with someone and we talk about some of the things that went on when I was fan on the board, what things I dealt with and stuff like that. But hey ho, one day maybe a book, AMS and fan on the board. But yeah, probably not. We don't write books, so yeah. At the end of the show, can you play that Wednesday fan shake and come on Wednesday to cheer us up? What was that? I've not seen that.
No idea.
To be honest, I had friends last season who can't be bothered to go. I think some of our fans are self-entitled.
Don't get me wrong. That point about being self-entitled, I do think that there's a hint of we're asking when you're asking for managers to be sacked after 20 games in charge. You do get a little bit happy clappy like the Premier League wanting instant success. So I do think there's a hint of that. In being a bit entitled to wanting instant success with Millwall at the end of the day.
Two things for you, Anthony. First one is, where's the other fella from in the USA, and does he want a job as director of football? Where just let people know where you're from.
I'm from New York. I think you're speaking about Chats from Chicago. I think that's who we're talking about. Joe Chats.
Oh, possibly, or it could be you. I don't know.
No, definitely not me. I'm pretty sure Joe does a bit more with, articles after every match, forward talking points after the match. I think that's who he's referring to. Chicago's 700 kilometers west.
We've got another question for you. Two questions. How long have you been a Millwall fan?
I'm closing in on 15 years.
There you go.
So 2010 was my first time over. They just got promoted from League One. I went to the home opener. Hooked ever since. So
okay. And Chris Brown, who's a Detroit Lions fan, by the way, wants to know: do you support an NFL team, and if so, which one?
That'd be the goddamn New York Jets. We don't need a show about that. But I will say I did mention it to Mickey beforehand. For those who don't know, I'm about 45 minutes from MetLife Stadium, which is where the World Cup final will be hosted in 26. So that's where the Jets play, and it'll be great to be part of that World Cup experience. I mean, I've never gone to anything as big as the World Cup. So and we got 8 matches here in New York. That will be an experience to hopefully just get to one of them. I don't care who's playing.
No, that's it.
I'll be on that. I would love to come over to the States for the World Cup. I'd love to do that.
So yeah, so what he's saying is, have you got room in your couch?
Yeah, if you've got... yeah.
Danny Shout says, Payne Anthony's Jets. I'm a Packers fan. Glad you have Aaron Rodgers' show now.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers. I didn't think that's where this conversation was going to go. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers is a very polarizing figure. And
right.
I will sell my soul for him to win some games. But go on.
Right, Joe, I'll do this before coming to your final word, and then I'm going to speak about the Basingstoke 8. Joe Zampers posted on Twitter, just looking back at our last 5 games, and we've made errors in every goal we've given away. Had we not made these errors, we would have 43 points instead of 33, and we'd be sitting 11th in the championship instead of 18th, 4 points away from the playoff spot. So, scores from the last 5 games with players making errors in the bracket. So, Coventry 2, Millwall 1, Tandanga and Sarkic. Hull 1, Millwall 0, Harding. Millwall 1, Preston 1, Tandanga and Bryan. QPR 2, Millwall 0, Bryan, BNC and Sarkic. Millwall 1, Borough 3, Bryan and Harding. Total points from those last 5 games is 1 point. And obviously we're in 18th. But if we'd have done that without the errors from, obviously, Tandanga, we would have won 1-0 against Coventry. Harding, it would have been a draw. Preston, we would have won Tandanga and Bryan. QPR would have been 0-0. And Millwall would have won against Borough without those points. Don't necessarily if it's it. But
no, you can't.
Tanganga, isn't it? Tanganga. That's his name.
I don't think you can just say that we would have won every single game without the mistakes. We probably would have had, I would say, another maybe 6 to 9 points, which you're then having your season's a lot more comfortable. So I do see where he's coming from, but I don't think you can just say that we'd win every game, because that's just not. I don't think that's realistic.
Question from Dan for you, Anthony. What made you start supporting Millwall?
So first time I was over, I stood at the Bermondsey Square Hotel. I go to the concierge one day and I'm like, "Hey, what's the closest club?" And the quote to this day was, "Millwall, but you're American. Are you sure you want to go there?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So walked the 2 miles from about just after Tower Bridge down the Old Kent Road, and got my ticket for the home opener against Hull. And that was it. My brother actually visited that weekend too. He came to the match with me. He didn't understand the concept of you can't bring a pint to your seat. So it's right after the start of the second half, Stewart comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, your brother's there down back." I'm like, "Oh, what did he fucking do? What did he get into trouble on?" He's holding 2 pints. I miss Liam Trotter score what was the 3rd goal that day. So
there you go. So yeah, and just one more from Peter. Who's going to win the egg chase tonight?
What's the egg chase? Is this the
Super
Bowl?
The
Yeah,
Super
okay.
Bowl, yeah.
I'm gonna pick the Chiefs. They're the champs till they're the champs no more. It's kind of like Manchester City in the Premier League. You know, they're the winners. They're the best. I'm gonna go with them until they lose. So same concept with the Chiefs. They have been to the Super Bowl 5 of the last 6 years. For those who don't follow regularly, I think they've won 2 in that time span. They're 2-2. So they're a proper team, and I'm going to take them since they are against what Mickey wants. Mickey wants the Niners, but you know,
fuck me, throw me right under the bus there, didn't you? Nice. No, I was just saying I liked them when I was a kid. So yeah, I like their hat, their gold hat with the red wine. So yeah. Final question for you, and then we will do thingy, right? And do you reckon there's any US players that we should look for?
Well, this is a weird time to be a American supporter, because we've had a history of keepers for the last 20 odd years. Even Casey Keller, you know, obviously we know him as Millwall, but it's such a weird time. Ethan Horvath was the Luton keeper last year, and now he's, I think, 3rd string at Forest. Matt Turner's barely hanging on it. No one's hanging on. He's barely hanging on at Forest. So keeper-wise, I mean, we could have been in for a Haji Wright. He was in the middle of nowhere, Turkey. I mean, I don't think Coventry paid a crazy amount for him, unless I'm mistaken on my knowledge there. But we got guys who were, you know, in the Big 5 leagues and across Europe. Some of them are doing well, some of them aren't. So I can't particularly pick. I mean, Millwall's had, I think, 4 Americans to my knowledge all time, and yeah. So
cool.
No one I could think of in mind. I'll think next time though. I'll think of someone. No, maybe I'll become the team scout. Maybe I'll become the next outer. But yeah.
Thanks very much for coming on tonight, Anthony. It's been a pleasure having you on. It's been good having a different opinion. And look, the offer's there, mate. If anyone else out there who fancies coming on and sitting with us on the show and joining us for one of these lives, more than welcome to get on with us. Stephen, you got any last words, mate, before I just talk about the Basingstoke 8?
It's getting harder and harder to do these shows. You talk trying to keep the faith, but Wednesday, another opportunity to try and turn this ship around. The only glimmer I have of hope for you guys, if you're waiting for the next game, I do think Ipswich are on a little bit of a decline, so it might be an opportunity for us. But thanks as always for listening. As Mickey keeps saying, if you can like and subscribe, get the numbers keep going up. We really, really appreciate it. And as always, if you ever see us at the grounds, come and say hello. And if you've won a prize and you are there on Wednesday, drop me a message on Twitter and I'll bring them along and sort out getting them to you guys.
No problem. So, February 11th, 1978, we were playing Southampton away, and there was a group of Millwall fans who lived down that way, who all got into cars that day and headed down the motorway towards Southampton. Unfortunately, there was a serious car accident on the motorway or on the road there as such, going down, and 8 young lads lost their life. That was Stephen Metcalf, Bill Ward, Todd Phillips, Stephen Bays, Alan Smith, Stephen King, Bob Bond, and John Webb. These lads lost their life that day, and it's probably our biggest loss of a fan base in our entire history. But it did happen 46 years ago this year. And obviously there are only a few articles around where you can still read about it. If you put in the Basingstoke Millwall fans, you'll probably get an article. I can post an article, the link to the article. I don't know the families. I speak to a couple of the relatives online. I don't know them, but I did make a promise back in the year. And I just said that every year I will make sure that their memory is kept on. And as long as I'm still here, there's stuff set up on Twitter accounts what keep posting and posting. And I will make sure that they are always remembered. There is a plaque, which I think will be going up at some point. I had nothing to do with this. This was all done by Hoff. People on Hoff who, loads of people want to moan about Hoff, but Hoff is what it does for different charities and different causes and everything else is second to none. This is a nice big plaque what will be going up at some point around the stadium somewhere, and just to make sure that we remember these lads who unfortunately didn't come home from going to watch a game of football. And obviously, it's even more closer to home, considering that we're going to play Southampton in a couple of weeks. So, yeah, when you go down there, just remember that, mate. If you want to take a flower or something, but, just to pay your respects or something, it'll be probably a nice touch. And, yeah, that's pretty much it for us then for another week. Whether or not we're back on Wednesday or whether or not we're back on Friday, or we do a mid-show, or we do a space or so, watch this space, we will sort something out for you. Many thanks for all of you who've joined us tonight. Been an absolute pleasure, and thank you very much for putting up with us. I can't answer that, Chris. The fans have led the what you call it, so it will be coming up at some point. And yeah, that's it. So MFC for life says some of our fans do my nutting. What more can Jay Edwards do? It's not him making mistakes and lacking fitness, injuries galore, trying to change playing styles. Could try 4 at the back maybe. So yeah, that's it from us. We will be around again in a week's time. So yeah, we're going to remember this.
We were so busy talking shit about bringing the message to the people, we never stopped to bother whether the people gave a shit about